Ahí con. Check, check. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. 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 Check, 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 check. Iko. Check, 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 check. Check, check, check. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Check, check. Check 1, 2. Iko. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Iko sawa? Check 1, 2. Iko sawa? Haina hamu. Check 1, 2. Hebu weka. Check 1, 2. Iko sawa? Okay.
good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Grace, the security in charge of Plenary Paradise. On behalf of the Plenary management, welcome to Plenary Paradise. And the security is our first priority to our guests. When you are in our hotel, we ensure you are safe until the last minute you leave our hotel. The damages when you are here, you use the staircases to exit the conference. You could see the L-Pand parking when you are walking around. Opposite there is a field where we go in case of emergency. And you can read the signages as you walk across the hotel to direct you to the evacuation area. Down the beach area, we do have Kenya Wildlife Service Office. Always talk to those policemen when you are there for security purpose. They'll always take care for you when you are there. The beach is surrounded by many people in different places. Then ensure yourself you are safe when you are there. In case you are feeling not well, we do have medical services in the hotel. There is a landline in the room. You can just dial 0, then you'll be connected to the doctor to take care of you. Or you dial 1509 for security purpose, then they will call the doctor to assist you. When you are in this room, ensure you keep your friend safe until the last day. And ensure anything convenience, always get in touch with the security person to help. The tea break will be 10 o'clock at the S4 Center, ground floor, where you have exhibition booth. The tea will be served at 10 o'clock to 11. Then there is another tea, 4 o'clock to 5:0 at the tea area, exhibition area. Then the lunchtime starts from 12:30 to 2 at the Dow restaurant. And the secretariat's team will ensure all of you have the meal vouchers so that you get easy access to the dining hall during the lunchtime. When you walk around in Mombasa and you get something suspicious or you get any incident around, always call to Plenary Paradise. We are ready to take care of you. And in case of you need transport to where you sleep, always you go to the reception and you will be provided the secure transport to the place where you stay. Have a good day and enjoy yourself in Plenary Paradise. Thank you so much.
Who is the one on the presentation?
I'll give you a cake. If I give you in, can I give me
And when you are sharing the presentations here, you must also share them with the online.
Yeah. That's why I was saying you can
Check.
Haiko.
Check, check, check. 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. Check, check. 1, 2.
Okay, let me.
Check.
Anyone involved?
Check 1, 2. Mic check. 1, 2.
Hizi za meza.
Good morning. This good morning is meant to make you sit. And then I will say a proper good morning. Good morning. Perfect. I think we're a big group, and this good morning really shows that we are here. We are in Mombasa, and we are transforming Africa. Let me start by welcoming the chairman of board of the Kenya Pharmacy and Poisons Board, Dr. Munyu, the CEO, our host of the Kenya Pharmacy and Poisons Board, Dr. Ahmed Mohammed. And actually, I'm feeling very good to welcome our Director General of the African Medicines Agency to her first SCoMRA as African Medicines Agency Director General. You're welcome, Madam. Her Excellency, Dr. Mimi Dako. It is a great honor and privilege to have you here. I would also like to welcome the Director of Human Capital and Institutional Development Directorate at the African Union Development Agency, Mr. Sime Gray Johnson. The representative of WHO, Dr. Anyango. Heads of agencies of the different national regulatory authorities in the AU member states. We welcome you, the regional economic communities, the partners of the AMA, industry representatives that are here, the academia and research institutions. I also can't forget the chairman of board of the African Medicines Agency. It's good to see you, sir, and you're welcome. Thank you very much. Our chair of the AMRH Steering Committee, it's good to have you here. The media present, our partners have already indicated, led by the chairman of the partnership platform, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to take this opportunity to really welcome you all to this 7th SCoMRA, which is convened under the theme Regulatory Harmonization, Unlocking Africa's Potential for Health, Product Manufacturing and Trade. Regulatory harmonization must mean something for the continent, and surely it should mean advancement in access to quality assured medical products to the African population. And this can be sustainably achieved if we invest in the AU goal. The AU has made decisions over the years to advance local manufacturing and trade through the adoption of the Continental Free Trade Area. And we know that we cannot achieve that if our regulatory systems are not harmonized, are not consistent, are not efficient to undertake the functions that they are supposed to take. If they are not harmonized, if they are fragmented, we will not be able to achieve this goal. So this conference is really important. It's at the heart of what Africa wants to do in creating the Africa we want by 2063, as stipulated in the AU Agenda 2063. So colleagues and friends, it's good to see you here in Mombasa, but I would not be fair if I don't thank the government of Kenya that has done a really stellar job in organizing this conference with us. We have worked hand in hand, and the work that has gone into this, the government of Kenya has outdone itself, and I hope the other countries that will be hosting the other SCoMRAs will meet the bar, will meet the target. But also all of us for coming here, for making time to be part of this conversation. It is an important conversation, and I know we actually were looking at the registrations as the Joint Secretariat and the organizing committee, and we were overwhelmed that, well, there's so much passion in this subject. There's so much, that people want to know, want to do, and we hope that the 3 days that we have here are going to take us forward as a continent to where we want to be in regulatory harmonization, local manufacturing, and trade on the African continent. It's not a future dream, it's happening now. And we are going to do it now. We have shown the world that we can harmonize. We have shown the world that we can do things together. And we are going to continue to do things together. This year is particularly special. I want to highlight just 4 things before I hand over to my co-moderator for this opening session. This year, we have seen significant things happening. This year, as a continent, we did the first ever listing of medicinal products. As we speak today,
recording in progress.
12 products are out there in the African countries. They've entered the markets. We worked together as a collective on the continent. We were able to do scientific reviews. We have learned lessons, and this is why we are here. we want to discuss and see how do we take this forward? How do we grow from strength to strength? We are coming from a point of strength. That's the first achievement we've done this year. This year, we have also seen ourselves working closely and collaboratively with our sister African Union institutions. During MPOX, we were able to work with Africa CDC to review MPOX diagnostics and approve MPOX diagnostics that can be used to respond effectively to the outbreak that was in front of us. It's an achievement for the continent. This year, we have opened the doors of the African Medicines Agency. This year. And this year, we have seen our Director General taking office in Addis Ababa. In Rwanda, Kigali. And I'm sure all of us are looking forward to see what does it mean for the continent? Where do we go from here? What does it mean for the work that we have been doing? So this conference, the SCoMRA, is actually at a very opportune time for us to get more about that, to get your input on what are your expectations, what are your thoughts, how do you want us to move forward? And this is a transition conference. This is the last conference under the AMRH umbrella, with AMRH being highlighted. And we are ushering in SCoMRA under the AMA era. And I'm sure it's even going to get better and better and bigger and bigger. So we look forward to very fruitful deliberations. My friends, my colleagues from the Joint Secretariat, we have done a good job. And I know we've been able to achieve this because of quite some strategic partnerships that we have been able to nurture to collectively work towards one common goal, one common agenda. And I would like to invite my colleague from the World Health Organization, Hiti Silo, who has been our partner from the word go, from the time we were beginning the AMRH. And we still remain partners until today. I think the journey, I'm very sure it's even going to get better and better and stronger as we move forward. So let me invite my colleague, Hiti Silo, to take over, I think, from me in introducing the next steps of the agenda. Hiti.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, thank you, and thank you, my sister Chim. And very happy to be back to the continent, my continent, but also to my very specific region here in the East African community. Dr. John Munyu, Chair of the Kenya Pharmacy and Poisons Board. Dr. Ahmed Mohamed, the Chief Executive Officer, Kenya Pharmacy and Poisons Board. Director General, African Medicines Agency, Her Excellency Dr. Mimi Dako. My boss, Dr. Onyango, Director of Health Systems from Afro, who is here on behalf of the 3 levels of WHO. And the heads of agencies in this room. And I will say at this point that all protocols observed, as Chim has already listed who is in the room. So I'm very happy to speak at the kickoff of this SCoMRA, the 7th SCoMRA, speaking on behalf of WHO. And as Chim rightly said, I had a privilege to be on both sides in the early days, and I'm also happy to see the founders of AMRH initiative in this room. And I'm sure at some point we will maybe just see them and ask them to stand, the former heads of agencies who saw the vision to have this program actually put into place all the way from 2009. And of course, later, the piloting in the East African community and roll out to other regional economic communities in Africa. But also the need to see already at the very beginning that Apart from the air marriage program, but also the work that goes through the regional economic communities, it was important that we have this scientific conference of regulators. I think the first one, if I recall, was actually in South Africa, the first SCoMRA. And I'm here to be corrected, but that is what I recall. And so since then, we have traveled all the way from South Africa to Ethiopia, to Accra, Ghana. I think we had one virtual one at some point during the COVID. We were in Zimbabwe before COVID, in Vic Falls. Thank you, Google, for hosting us then. And then, of course, we had COVID in between, and then we had the sixth one in Cairo, in Egypt. And today, we are in East Africa, in Kenya, and specifically, actually, in Mombasa. So I'm very happy to be part of this transition from the MRH program to the African Medicines Agency, which was conceived also about the same time. And for those who recall, in the Minister of Health in Africa decided to have the African Medicines Agency as a continental agency. So very happy that we have all witnessed this journey. And today we are celebrating the kickoff of the continental agency, the African Medicines Agency. Before I invite the chair of the pharmacy, the chair of the Kenya Pharmacy and Poisons Board to officially open this conference, I just wanted to underscore our partnership between WHO and the AUDA-NEPAD, and from the day go, as a joint secretary to actually lead this program in terms of advocacy, but also effective coordination, and from the part of WHO providing technical leadership through the technical committees, but also the forums of heads of agencies within the respective regional economic communities. We have gone a long way, and I want to really thank the heads of agencies who have championed this program. If it was not your commitment, I think we wouldn't have been here today. So I really want to thank you, and I think with your leadership now transitioning to the African Medicines Agency, we will be able to see even more impact on the continent. When MRH started, nobody knew anything about we never knew about the global benchmarking tool. There were assessments that were being conducted of regulatory systems across the globe. But on this side of the continent, I think a formal assessment of tools that actually recognize competencies and capacities that exist was not there. So I'm happy that today, as we speak, over 90% of the member states on the African continent have gone through either formal benchmarking or a self-assessment to understand where they are in terms of putting in place an effective regulatory system. So since the introduction of the global benchmarking tool in 2016, we are celebrating now 9 regulators on the African continent that have achieved maturity level 3. And the number is small compared to the 54 member states under the AU. But certainly this number, just for you to know, that covers 50% of all the agencies that have achieved maturity level 3 across the globe. So half of those are on the African continent, and for that I want really to commend those who have committed to this journey and to having mature, stable, and well-functioning regulatory systems. And there are also several that are actually on track to achieving that. The journey has been a success because of the partnership, because of the support that we've enjoyed from our partners. And in this case, I wanted to acknowledge the earlier partners. The Gates Foundation, who have been with us from the day go, all the way up to today. The World Bank at the time, and I see my brother Apollo is in the room. When he left NDA Uganda, immediately joined the World Bank and was actually behind coordinating this in the region. The FID UK, CHAI, Clinton Health Access Initiative, just to mention a few. And then, of course, out of that, we later expanded this partnership, and now we have the AMRH partnership platform that I believe is transitioning into AMA partnership, as it may be called. But also this partnership is what inspired the WHO network of Coalition of Integrated Parties, CIP. So the CIP was actually inspired by the partnership under AMRH, and that is what is now guiding our regulatory system strengthening across the globe in close collaboration with our partners that are actually providing both funding but also technical support. So with that, allow me now to invite Dr. John Munyu, the chair of the Kenya Pharmacy and Poisons Board, our host, to give the welcome remarks. Dr. Munyu, please.
Your Excellency, Dr. Mimi Dako, Director General, Africa Medicines Agency, heads of national regulatory authorities present, distinguished delegates, development partners, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I take this opportunity first and foremost to welcome all the international delegates to this coastal city of Mombasa in the Republic of Kenya, and say that we feel very honored to host all of you distinguished delegates to the Republic of Kenya, and specifically to this coastal city of Mombasa. On behalf of the organizing committee, the African Union Development Agency, AUDA NEPAD, and the World Health Organization, it is my profound honor and privilege to extend a warm welcome to each of you as the chairman of the board of directors of the Pharmacy and Poisons Board to this 7th biennial scientific conference on medical products regulation in Africa. I would wish to extend my gratitude to our host, the governor for Mombasa County, for hosting this conference in this beautiful city of Mombasa. I want to convey his apologies. He was supposed to be with us this morning, but not possible due to some urgent commitment, but he'll be with us tomorrow morning in the official opening that will be conducted tomorrow morning. Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here at a theme that is not just a topic of discussion. It is a continental call to action, regulatory harmonization, unlocking Africa's potential in health products, manufacturing, and trade. This conference convenes at such a pivotal moment in our continent's public health journey. It is a reality that Africa imports over 90% of her medicines, and only less than 1% of our vaccines are produced locally. And this is not a statistic, but a profound reality of the vulnerability of our health systems. This was laid bare during the COVID pandemic, and the painful lessons thereof and the experiences are very fresh in our minds. On the 13th of August 2024, Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Africa CDC, officially declared the ongoing monkeypox outbreak a public health emergency of continental security. Here in Kenya, indeed, no other county in the Republic of Kenya felt the brunt of this outbreak more severely than Mombasa County. This city where we are gathered today reported significant impact and the highest rate of infection and fatalities, and the ultimate unfortunate outcome. This painful reality reinforces our collective resolve to transform how we respond to public health threats. For over a decade, the African medicines regulatory harmonization has stood out as a cornerstone of our collective efforts to build a robust regulatory system, robust regulatory systems from national to regional level. The progress so far is tangible. We have witnessed the harmonization of regulatory guidelines across our regional economic communities, to the digitization of our regulatory processes. This foundation has paved the way for a historic milestone, the operationalization of Africa Medicines Agency, AMA, headquartered in Kigali, Rwanda. As the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, we have been active participants in the regional and continental harmonization and collaboration efforts. Indeed, I observe with pride that we have our senior Pharmacy and Poisons Board officers in the leadership positions in the continental committees. And if you allow me just to say, the chairperson of the Market Authorization Forum is led by Dr. Kariuki Gachoki of the Pharmacy and Poisons Board. The chairperson of the African Medical Devices Forum is led by Dr. Pauline Wairimu from the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, and Mr. Gideon Muremi from the Pharmacy and Poisons Board is in the Information Management Technical Committee. We continue to employ regulatory reliance as a mechanism to enhance the efficiency and remain steadfast in leveraging all available mechanisms to strengthen our systems. I also note that we have worked very closely with the organizing committee for this SCoMRA 7 conference, where our own Pauline from the Pharmacy and Poisons Board has actively participated together with other colleagues from SCoMRA. I note with great excitement that Her Excellency Dr. Dr. Mimi Dako, Director General of AMA, will be delivering her inaugural address in this SCoMRA 7 conference. I think this will be tomorrow, Madam. And Your Excellency, I assure you that the continent is fully behind you, and the member states will support AMA to ensure its full success. AMA represents our shared vision of an Africa that is self-reliant, resilient, and capable of safeguarding the health of its people. SCoMRA 7 is therefore not merely a conference, it is a strategic platform to reflect on this transition. We are here to ensure that the promise of AMA is fully realized to catalyze local manufacturing, facilitate intra-African trade under the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, and guarantee that quality, safe, and efficacious medical products reach everyone in need within the African continent. Over the next 3 days, ladies and gentlemen, we will delve into critical deliberations around 4 key sub-themes that are essential to our mission. The first one will be on the strengthening of regulatory oversight to attract and sustain local manufacturing investments. The second one will be the pivotal role of African Medicines Agency and regional bodies in advancing pooled procurement. The third area will be the harnessing of innovation, artificial intelligence, and digitalization for a more agile regulatory ecosystems within Africa. And fourthly, building strong partnerships between public and private sectors, between regulators and researchers, government and civil society, all necessary to drive this agenda forward. distinguished participants gathered here, regulators, policymakers, manufacturers, academics, researchers, and development partners are the very architects of this new future. Your collective expertise, experiences, and commitment remain our greatest assets. I encourage all of us to engage actively, challenge constructively, and share openly. Let us use this platform to move from dialogue to decisive action. Let us leave Mombasa City not with a shared understanding, but with a clear, actionable roadmap. Our objectives are clear. Our potential is immense, and our resolve remains key to unlocking it. Let me express our appreciation to our partners in this very important journey: the World Health Organization, CEPI, the Gates Foundation, the German Cooperation through GIZ, the Public Health Foundation, and the local host Pharmacy and Poisons Board for their unwavering support to making this conference a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, I know we will have another session tomorrow when we'll have the formal and official opening of this conference, but it is now my distinct honor and privilege, ladies and gentlemen, to officially welcome you to this 7th Scientific Conference on Medical Products Regulation in Africa, SCoMRA 7, and declare this conference officially open. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and I wish you all a fruitful and impactful conference and successful deliberations. I want to add, when you have free time, we have ambience environment and beautiful beaches in the city of Mombasa, and enjoy the hospitality of Mombasa City and the hospitality of the Kenyan people and the people of the East African community. Asanteni sana, and we hope we'll have a fruitful day and very useful deliberations to move this very critical agenda forward. Thank you, and asanteni sana. Thank you.
Asante sana, Mwenyekiti. Thank you very much, Chair, Kenyan Farmers Board, for the opening and welcoming remarks. And as the Chair mentioned, the official opening will be tomorrow, where we will have the government of Kenya represented here at a higher level to do the official opening. So before we move to the next session, allow me to invite my brother, Mr. Smear Gray Johnson, who is the Director of Human Capital and Institutional Development at the AUDA NEPAD, to come to the podium to set the scene for the 7th SCoMRA, unlocking local manufacturing of medical products, trade, and pooled procurement through regulatory system strengthening and harmonization. Mr. Smear, please.
I'm not sure whether you guys will be able to see. You want to come down from there? Oh. No, I'll stand. Is that fine? Good morning, everyone. Of course, I am told I have 20 minutes, but I'll have to steal an extra 10 because I was told by the team that I have to be very diligent in setting the scene and in giving this presentation. Foremost, I want to welcome all of you on behalf of our Chief Executive Officer, Madam Nados Bekele Thomas, who was not able to join, but through her sister, Dr. Mimi Dako, I'm sure tomorrow she will be expressing her gratitude to all of you. And of course, I recognize our Director General, Dr. Mimi, and Governor and the Chair for those kind words, welcoming all of us here in Mombasa. So I'll kick off, I think it's about 15 slides, so I'll really request all of you to relax and follow it through, because it's quite important. We are doing this presentation for two reasons. One is to show that we have walked diligently to transition the great work that Chim and the team have done in AMRH, and additionally also transition the work that Ken and team have done in AU3S, which will now be housed, both programs will be housed inside AMA under the able leadership of our DG. The second reason why we're doing this presentation is to showcase the work ahead, to show a bigger picture as a development agency, that there's a lot of work that needs to be done for us to get to trade, before getting to trade, for us to even accomplish local manufacturing. So that's why we will take 30 minutes of your time, and I'll take it very easy and slow and walk you through where we're coming from, where we want to be, and the work ahead. So we can start with the first slide. I understand I click, okay. Do I click from here? Tabisen, you said I click, or am I clicking the wrong button? Can someone help me with IT? Or maybe someone clicks for me and I say next slide, next slide. It's fine? Good. I think it's better, I'll just say next slide. So we can go back to the first slide. I think Charles, let's go to the first. We go back. We go back. Perfect. Good. So I'll walk you through this slide, and it's quite important that we have an appreciation of why, as a development agency, we do what we do. Of course, everything that is implemented in the African Union Development Agency, it's linked to the 7 moonshots of Agenda 2063. And the moonshots calls for, by 2063, that all African countries will attain a middle income status, that Africa will be more integrated and connected. This is why we have AMRH and now AMA and the CFTA and all the other work we are doing within the AU system, that our public institutions are stronger and resilient, and that we resolve our conflicts amicably. We have the APRM. We also have various governance agencies within the union, and our values are explicit. We Africa-owned, Africa-led, and of course our citizens are empowered and participate in governance, and finally that we position the continent as a global player. So when we get to trade and manufacturing, there's a huge impact for us to position this continent through our work as a global player. That said, our development agency, African Union Development Agency, had to restructure and reorganize its work. And we had to rethink how do we deliver on those 7 moonshots as a development agency. So thereafter, we went through a lengthy process on a reform agenda led by His Excellency Paul Kagame that gave us a 4-point mandate. One is to strengthen the capacities of the African Union member states, which of course you will hear throughout today and tomorrow what the AMRH program and associated programs have done over the years, and serve as a technical interface between the continent and the global system, and to coordinate and execute the priorities of projects and programs like AMRH, AU3S, and other programs that will strengthen our coordination and integration. And finally, and this is the most important part, is to undertake a full range of resource mobilization, because we must power and fund and finance our development. So SCoMRA as a development agency, we have been entrusted with a huge mandate and an ability that we must deliver on, and deliver on by 2063. Needless to mention, yesterday we looked at what Africa will be in 2025 today, with 1.56 billion as a population. We've grown by 2.3%, and you've heard from the moderators that we continue to import our vaccines and medical products. In 25 years, in 2050, 1 in 3 able-bodied young person will be African. And we will have a population of 900 million that will be young people who will need healthcare services, education services, and other services that we must provide. So as a development agency, we're very, very clear about what the future could look like for Africa. And by 2033, that is in 38 years from now, 1 in 2.5 able-bodied person will be African. And we'll be needing all sorts of services that we must deliver as a continent. So for that reason, we restructured and came up with a new directorate called Human Capital and Institutional Development Directorate. And this is where the work we have done to consolidate AMRH and AU3S and IVM and other projects and transition them smoothly into AMA was housed. And then, of course, we have other directorates that deal with infrastructure, agriculture, and so forth. We can move to the next slide, please. The other way. Good. Now, just to give you an appreciation of the work we do as a development agency, because I think this will be the last time, as Chim highlighted, that as AUD and NEPAD, as an MRH, we won't be leading the 8th SCoMRA and the other SCoMRAs to come. But we still have a role to play, and we'll still be active, we'll still be present, because of the nature of the work of the development agency. We, as a directorate, we implement about 350 million worth of programs and projects. Again, it goes back to the full range of resource mobilization that we are mandated to undertake to drive Africa's development. And this slide gives you an appreciation of how our work intertwines with delivering on the moonshots of Agenda 2063, specifically the work we do on institutional strengthening and development. If you look at the far right or the far left, depending on how you view the slide, we are working on an Africa Continental Qualifications Framework. And that framework, for example, will be very critical when we roll out our new program at the far bottom of the right, called Strengthening Africa's Nursing and Midwifery Workforce, which will require qualifications to be recognized across all 55 countries. So this gives you an understanding of how the development agency's work is a bit more complex, but interlinks with all the other spheres of human capital and institutional development. In health and well-being, where I'll be focusing on in the coming slides, of course, we have a huge program looking at the demographic dividend for obvious reasons. As I mentioned, by 2050, 1 in 3 able-bodied human will be African. And of course, by 2063, we're projecting 1 in 2.4 persons will be an African. So we have to do something about that demographic dividend, and of course we have to do something about it in terms of health, education, local production, strengthening regulatory processes, and all the other discussions we'll be having today and tomorrow. We also have a huge program that looks at reproductive health for obvious reasons, because of a growing continent, and also the projections that we are looking at. And of course, you'll be hearing a lot on AMRH, AU3S, the work we're doing on vector management, dengue fever, malaria, and of course our program for investments and financing in Africa's health economy, which is a huge program looking at some 107 projects that will require funding in the coming years. We also have a huge program on institutional development and inclusive governance, very important, especially the work we're doing on strengthening national institutions, working with vulnerable communities, very important if we are going to have a healthy, wealthy Africa with good health provisioning systems and education systems. We're doing a lot of work on resilient institutions, working with public entities and ministries of local government, ministries of interior, ministries of home affairs, to make sure that the service deliveries that we need in the coming years are strengthened and enhanced. We've also launched a new portal on the Africa Critical Skills Bank, which will anticipate the next sets of jobs that will be needed. And again, the Skills Bank prioritizes the farmer industry, agro-processing, and aquaculture, for obvious reasons, because these are the growth potentials that Africa will need in the next 25 years. And finally, as I mentioned, we're incubating a lot of new projects and initiatives within a new cluster that sits in my office on South-South cooperation. There's a lot of lessons to be learned within the LAC, Latin America, Caribbean, and of course within the Asia-Pacific region on how they fast-track their growth and how they fast-track their development. And this is why we are rolling out a new program on South-South cooperation, and of course the work that we anticipate we'll be doing in local manufacturing and regulations will be very important for us to learn on a South-South basis. And finally, as I mentioned, a new program for nursing and midwifery. We have some new data that shows that African governments are busy spending, educating, training nurses and midwives just to lose them. So there is a brain drain of critical professions like nursing and midwifery that Africa is losing, not only to the north, but to the emerging economies of the Middle East and the Gulf. So we have to really rethink how we retain that resource and reward it, capacitate it, and remunerate it. So this is a new program that we are also looking at as a development agency. And I really want us all to appreciate why these programs are so important. Because as I said, what could happen in 2050 and what we want to happen in 2063. So that is why, as a development agency, we try to integrate the work we do. We can move to the next slide, please. So to get even closer to why manufacturing and trade it's so important and critical as we move towards 2050 and 2063 as a continent, and the role of the development agency. As of right now, we are implementing projects under this health and well-being cluster to the north of 190 million, but if you look at the work, as I highlighted, the work we're doing on the demographic dividend and reproductive health, we're really working with African governments, 11 countries to be specific, 5 regional economic communities, to have an integrated plan on how we can start positioning issues around harnessing the demographic dividend. So there's a lot of work going on there so that we can harness the capacities and the skills that will be needed to power our transformation. Of course, as I mentioned, the work on AMRH and AU3S will now have a new home. And this program specifically targets human capital. How do we invest and finance the human capital in the health economy? How do we invest and finance in health infrastructure? How do we invest and finance in local production? You will recall last year, the African Union Development Agency launched an initiative called the 24 Essential Medical Products. And the 24 medical products were published, and also we've also been doing a lot of roadshows to attract the investments and financing of these 24 medical products. And this is all part of the manufacturing agenda and the trade agenda that Africa has set itself for. And finally, we are also venturing into wellness and well-being. We have the Africa Creatives and Sports and Recreation Program, a new program to really tackle the next generation of diseases that Africans will be facing and encountering, especially the NCDs. So wellness and well-being is a critical new area that the Development Agency is also engaged in. Again, this is all part of the agenda on ensuring that we can manufacture and also trade our medical products and also our vaccines and so forth, but making sure that we have a healthy continent. We can move to the next slide, please. So, towards regulatory harmonization, you will hear that today and tomorrow, 55 countries, 8 regions, 1 continent, and of course, the Union driving a continental regulatory harmonization program as an enabler for manufacturing and trade. And this is what drives us. This is why we have all these different projects under these major programs to make sure eventually, as a continent, we are independent and we show solidarity. And last night we talked about it, that we don't have a choice. We just don't have a choice because the figures are out, the data's out. We must do it. And I think the discussions today and tomorrow will be very critical to make sure that we all work together towards this vision that we have. Next slide, please. Now, I think this slide, I'll go very slowly so that by the time we get to manufacturing and trade and markets, we'll have a better understanding of why we don't have a choice, why we have to be very determined and unapologetic that we must manufacture and trade in medical products. And I think everybody in the room knows these statistics and data, and I sometimes doubt to what extent we internalize it. And specifically, when we look at government health spending, and the spirit of our work is to continue to encourage and speak to governments that the health economy could be a potential for growth for our economies, especially when we look at the regional dimension, that it's an untapped economy that could spur major opportunities. And this is why now that we have a supranational regulatory agency, under the able leadership of Her Excellency Dr. Mimi Dako, we now need to work with the regions and the countries to make sure that policymakers really double down on prioritizing and putting the health economy. I mean, I'm using the words intentionally, the health economy, as a engine of growth because of the opportunities that it will spur. And if you go back to the slides that I presented, all the work we're doing on skills, on technical and vocational training, the work we're doing on nursing and midwifery, the work we're doing on PIFA, on investments and financing, encouraging, working with countries to come up with projects that can be investable, that can attract the financing. We need policymakers to really put health on the agenda as an opportunity to transform our economies. And if we can do that, I think some of the figures we are looking at now, today, on the 11th of November 2025, these dire figures will change by 2050 and by 2063. So this, of course, when we see these figures, as I said, I'm not sure to what extent we all internalize it. Africa still contributes to only 3% of global medicines manufacturing, 70 to 80% of pharmaceuticals are imported, 99% of, I mean, really, I can go on and on and on. I don't think as Africans, this is what we want to be seeing and internalizing or trying to understand. There's something really wrong in the global architecture. That's why as a development agency, we are very cognizant of the fact, oh, Margaret, good to see you. I didn't see you. Good to see you. I recognize you. Good. So I'll stop talking because I think, yeah, we're all from the NEPAD family. So Margaret goes way back with all of us on the Pan-Africanism and the NEPAD program. But the point is, I think by 25 years from now, with all the projects and the programs that we are implementing, we really want these figures to change, and change drastically and immediately. And this is why we've ushered in all these projects, restructured the agency, and prioritized human capital and institutional development. And in the past 30 months, we have been able to do a lot in making sure we position Africa's health economy as a potential for growth, for manufacturing, and for trade. We can move to the next slide, please. Of course, we have heard today in the opening, and we'll also keep hearing it throughout today and tomorrow, that we didn't arrive at this discussion on local manufacturing and trade and the setting up of AMA. There was a lot of work that went into it. And I think we can comfortably say that the past 30 months as a development agency, we have accelerated aggressively our work towards the preparation of the transitioning of the AMRH and AU3S and other work we're doing on regulations in the health sector smoothly to the Africa Medicines Agency. I think that was the last push. And of course, Margaret retiring and Chim taking over, we had a smooth transition internally. The team got bigger, and with more support from development partners, we were able to really put a structure in place going back to 2005, where it was felt that there has to be a program for manufacturing of African medical products and vaccines. So it's a 20-year journey. It sounds very long, but remember, we are looking at 2020, 2050, and 2063. The turning point for all of us is when the AFCFTA came into effect in 2017, and one of its 4 priorities is manufacturing in the pharmaceutical industry. So
the African Medicines Agency. I think his presentation is showing us that a lot of work has been done. We have walked a journey. I like the timeline of starting from 2005 when we adopted the pharmaceutical manufacturing plan for Africa to today, 2025. I think it's exactly 20 years. And sometimes you ask yourself, has the continent really moved? I think the question is that we have moved. We have made significant progress. We can see. This is what just AUD and EPAD is showcasing. But if you look at what others have also done, and you collectively put it together, you will realize that a lot of work has been done by the continent. And it is work that really has been driven by different individuals over the years. And actually now, the question of transition is not a question of if, and it's not a question of when. The if question should not be asked. The answer to that question is that, yes, AMRH is transitioning to AMA. The question of when, I don't think we can even be asking that question, because we have a Director General. We have AMA offices open in Kigali. We have work that has been there. So that question should not be even asked. We need to be operating within the context of the African Medicines Agency on all the regulatory work. But I think one point that the scene-setting presentation has done is that regulation has to be within context. It has to be within context of development. It has to be within context of trade. It has to be within context of manufacturing It has to be within context of food procurement if we are to achieve the impact that we want, which is improved access to quality assured, safe, and efficacious medicines or effective medical products to the African population. It means all AU entities have to work together hand in hand to ensure that we move this agenda forward in collaboration with member states, our regional economic communities, our partners, manufacturers, research community, academia. We saw aspects of training, skills that we need to drive this agenda. So this session really is going to focus on not the question of if and not the question of when. It will focus on 4 key things that we need to highlight. If we are talking about transition, how do we ensure continuity? How do we ensure that whatever we are doing is not disrupted? Member states, RECs, partners, different stakeholders are looking at us to ensure that we move even with speed as we move forward. Because the African problems, I was looking at the demographics, I was looking at the data when it comes to the expenditure on health, medical products. I mean, those figures really are screaming at us. So we need to do something differently. The second question that we need to address is, what can we practically do? How do we maintain the partnerships, collaboration, as well as reliance? Because reliance is at the heart of SCoMRA. We are also going to be addressing issues of sustainability and continuity of the services that have been offered through the African Medicines Regulatory Harmonization that are now going to find a home. Because when we were creating the African Medicines Agency, I remember those conversations, Margaret, we were saying AMRH is a program. A program is a program. It comes to an end. It starts and it ends. It can't continue forever. It has to have a home. It has to have an institution. It has to have a legal mandate. And here is SCoMRA. SCoMRA is providing that. But before I invite our panelists for this session, it's a really high-level panel, and I'm privileged to host it. I hope I'm as high level as the panelists, but I'm not. But I'm privileged to host a high level panel of senior colleagues who have worked diligently in the regulatory harmonization space. But I really wanted us to do something in this meeting. There's a team that drove this process from the word go. It started by our ex-regulators, ex-heads of agencies. They've done a stellar job. They did a stellar job in dreaming the dream. We couldn't have been here if we did not have this team taking a bold decision that we are ready to work together. And we will work together. Actually, Hiti was whispering in my ears to say, Chim, I think it was 2008 at an ICDRA meeting in Switzerland. But I think the senior regulators know. They will be able to correct us. But I know we moved into the Johannesburg discussion, and there are a series of discussions even before that. And actually, Gugu normally talks about even the network that was there before that then we wanted to move into the regional economic communities. But they've done a really good job in taking us to where we are. So I wanted to take this opportunity, indulge me, excellencies and members, to recognize these senior regulators. I hope you can take an opportunity to stand. Madame Gugu, you chaired actually the task force that established the different documents that we are talking about on SCoMRA. Thank you very much for the work that you did. You did a good job, and here we are. We really appreciate that. And also, Madame Margaret Ndomondo Sigonda. She was actually the first head of the African Medicines Regulatory Harmonization. I took over from very big hands, big shoes, and I was afraid I would fit in them, but here we are. Thank you, Madam Margaret. I also wanted to recognize some support strong men that were there. Ben Botwe, you were there. And Apollo Muhairwe. Thank you for the service that you did for the continent. There's one person who is not here, Precious Matsotso. She also did a good job. We expected her to be here, but unfortunately, last minute, she could not make it. But she also made a huge contribution to make us what we are today, celebrate what we are celebrating today. I think this is good statesmanship on the continent, and this is what we need for all of us. Now, Madame DG will be recognized as, no, she's not an ex. Her Excellency, the DG is continuing. She's still part of the journey. So thank you very much for that. So I really wanted us to do that because we really need to, acknowledge excellence on the African continent. And the contribution that has been made by our predecessors, we need to recognize that that's the only way we'll be able to move forward effectively as a continent. So at this point in time, I have the pleasure to invite the senior level speakers that are in this panel discussion. So allow me to start by inviting Her Excellency Dr. Mimi Darko as part of this panel. You're welcome, Madam Director General of the African Medicines Agency. Let me also invite Madam Bitumelo Semete. I always don't want to call your middle name. I find myself trapped somewhere. So, Madam, you're welcome, yes. So, she is the CEO of SCoMRA. But also, she is the chairperson of the steering committee of the African Medicines Regulatory Harmonization Initiative. You're welcome, ma'am. Allow me to also invite my brother, Hiti Silo, from the World Health Organization, my joint secretariat. We've moved this together, and I think we will really appreciate your input in the session. You're welcome, sir. Let me also invite Madame Sakile Due. She is the coordinator of the SADC, the Southern Africa Development Community Harmonization Initiative. Online, we have two representatives. I hope she's connected. The technical team kindly confirm if our online speaker, Dr. Emma Cook from the European Medicines Agency, is connected. She is connected. Thank you very much. And I hope we'll be able to see her on the screens as well. Please assist us, the technical team. And also we will, towards the end, also have Dr. Dan Hartman of the Gates Foundation. He has recorded his remarks for this session. But also from the industry, we can't talk about regulatory harmonization without without having the industry in the discussion. So let me call Dr. Sarah Adam from the IFPMA as part of this conversation as well. You're welcome, ma'am. Oh, Dr. Koulibaly. Oh, my sincere apologies. No, you're coming. My sincere apologies. Dr. Koulibaly, representing national regulatory authorities. My sincere apologies, sir. you very much, our panelists. And I think, as we said, this panel is really meant to reflect on the journey that we have taken, but also we would like to look ahead as we reflect. We would like to look ahead. There's a lot of discussion around AMRH transitioning to AMA, ensuring sustainability and continuity. So to kickstart this panel, I would like to start with you, Your Excellency, Director General of the African Medicines Agency. We would like to hear from you. How will the African Medicines Agency ensure that as we move forward, as we take up the work that has been done under the African Medicines Regulatory Harmonization, the work that it does is trusted and it is recognized globally as one of the key regulatory authorities on the continent driving the continental agenda. This will actually take the transition being smooth from the AMRH to the AMA. And this is a monumental step that we will be taking as a continent. What are your top 2 to 3 operational priorities as the African Medicines Agency in the coming 18 months? In the first 18 months, how will AMA demonstrate tangible value to member states and to the public? Over to you, Madam.
Thank you very much, Chim, and I'd like to say a big thank you. This meeting is the first time that I've actually flown from my home in Kigali. I'd like to thank the Rwandan government for making me so comfortable, and to thank the Kenyan government for welcoming me here at this late stage in my life. To settle anywhere is difficult, but I'm very, very comfortable. Thank you very much. This transition, I would say, is not going to be a difficult one. I have said that the AMRH has done a tremendous job. AMA is not, I always say that AMA is not starting from scratch. AMA is starting from a solid foundation that the AMRH has laid. And for us to be able to make impact, AMA has to, one of the top priorities that I have is AMA has what you call state parties. AMA was established by treaty. And the member states are 55. At the moment, 31 have signed okay, 31 have ratified the treaty. So AMA does not want to do anything less. It is called the African Medicines Regulatory Harmonization that we're taking over. AMA does not want to start with 31. AMA wants to start with all the 55. One of my top priorities will be to ensure that I have all the 55. So ratification, unified ratification should be one of my top priorities, and that is one of my top priorities. So I have to ensure that we get the remaining 24. I don't know what is stopping the 24, but that is one of my top priorities. So I'm going to go from country to country, well, not all by myself, but I will need the support of everyone, of all the member states here, represented here. Please come on board, because without a unified Africa, we cannot continue the good work that the AMRH has done. So getting the remaining 24 on board is one of my top priorities, because otherwise we have 31. There are some benefits that everybody should have. And why should it be for 31? And now we are looking for how do we work with the remaining 24? That is not what I want. So I want to ensure that the remaining 24 are on board. So that is number one. Number two is ensuring that there's capacity building. AMA's sustainability, AMA's success depends on the NRAs. AMA is not replacing NRAs. AMA is adding values to the NRAs. The strength of AMA depends on the strength of its NRAs. That the NRAs that AMA has, the regulatory staff, are what I call AMA's eyes, our ears, and our scientific bone. The NRAs are the implementing arm of AMA. The NRAs are AMA's intelligence and data source. The NRAs are our champions. So one of the key functions of AMA is to ensure that there's capacity in the NRAs. So one of the key things that AMA is going to do to ensure that AMA is strong, AMA becomes an excellent agency, is to build capacity in its NRAs. That is what the AMRH, one of the top foundations or one of the top priorities that AMRH has. And that is what AMA is going to do. To ensure that AMA becomes an excellent institution, it has to build capacity. To ensure that the data or the reviews that AMA does, to ensure that when AMA does a review, or AMA champions or AMA oversees a review, it is a review that is, you know, we talk about WHO qualification, it is done by us. We talk about an EMA review, it should be, an AMA review should be like an EMA review. Why would an AMA review be trusted? It is backed by science. It is a review that is science-based. It is a robust review. That can only be done when the agencies or the NRAs or the staff of the NRAs have that capacity. So number two, capacity development is what AMA is championing. Number three, local manufacturing. I have to ensure that AMA, we've talked about 70% of the products on the continent being imported. It cannot happen. We saw what happened during COVID, where there was a lockdown and there was nothing coming to the continent. And we all said it cannot happen again. Third thing, in my life as the head of an agency, in 1 year, I established 11,000 industries in the country of Ghana. 11,000 local industries. In the EMA, I know they have something called an SME office. AMA will have an SME office because I want to ensure that the local industry, and local in this context, the Africa industry, we've had PAVM, we've had PMPA, and it has not, I mean, there have been efforts, but it has not grown. I will ensure that the local industry in Africa thrives. We've talked about technology transfer. AMA will support technology transfer because at the end of the day, that is the only way that Africa can produce its own vaccines. So I'll support local industry. These are the three priorities that I have for AMA in my first 5 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam DG, for emphasizing the three key priorities that you have for the African Medicines Agency in the coming 18 months to 24 months. And we really look forward to seeing more and more countries coming on board, because I think we need to move collectively as a continent. And we look forward to all of us supporting you in that advocacy agenda to get more countries on board. So we will move to Dr. Tumi. You have been part of the leadership team of the AMRH as the chair of the steering committee. You have laid the steering committee that has ushered us into this day today when we are talking about the transition from the AMRH to AMA. From your vantage point as the current chair of the AMRH steering committee, how is the steering committee ready to support the takeoff of the African Medicines Agency? And what are the most important lessons that, as the chair of the steering committee, you can share that AMA must focus on moving forward?
Thank you very much, Chairman. Good morning to everyone. So I'm going to pick up from my Honorable DG, and I have three key elements that I'd like to speak to. I think the first that the steering committee brings to AMA is the institutional knowledge. As everyone has said before, and the DG herself, we're not starting from a zero base. A lot has been achieved over decades, and we have to make sure that we leverage on that. We have the previous chair of the steering committee, Prof. Moji. We have the previous head of AMRH and Madam Margaret that are still in our midst, and we have to make sure that that institutional knowledge, we leverage on that. Quite importantly also is to say, AMA has already listed 12 products. If you look at the Green Book, the reference number for these products is an AMA number, because we had the foresight that AMA will be in place. The capacity that resides in the 11 committee that Mr. Simir spoke about, we have to make sure that we leverage on that. So we bring institutional knowledge. The second point is we have a very strong steering committee of heads of agencies who are extremely knowledgeable and have a lot of experience in navigating the regulatory space. And when you look at the priorities that the DG has laid before, we are offering ourselves, and we've had discussions with her, to be an advisory committee to her. Again, as Africa, we cannot make progress without working as a team. AMA is ours. It belongs to all 55 NRAs that we have on the continent. The success of AMA is our success. And so it is imperative that each and every single one of us contribute to the success of AMA. And we've offered ourselves as a steering committee to support the DG. Very much aligned to her priority is around capacity. We have to make sure that we build capacity. We have done so in the TCs. The chairs of the TCs, you'll hear from them throughout the conference, top-notch regulators. And these are individuals that continue to build capacity at an NRA level, at a REC level, and that will also be brought into AMA. So very much aligned to what the DG has said. If I could reflect on the lessons that we have learned over the years. The first, and again, I'll mention 3 elements. The first is around being intentional very early on about sustainability. We have to ensure that whatever programs we put in place, we focus on delivery, and we focus on ensuring that what we do is sustainable. When you look at the guidelines that AMRH has put in place, the process we applied to get to a point where we list these 12 products, there is sustainability inherent in those guidelines, so we have to think about that. The second lesson for us is we must leverage on capacity that resides in country. And I'm thrilled that the DG is saying she's going to support us in ensuring that countries like mine, because we haven't ratified yet, ratify the treaty. And we're fully committed. I think it's part of the bureaucracy, and we'll get them. But we have to leverage on the capacity we have in the various member states. We've got 9 ML3 countries. We have countries with very strong capability, and we cannot not leverage on that. But also part of leveraging on the capacity is the know-how that resides in the Secretariat. We could not have achieved what we did under AMRH without the Audanepa team that supported AMRH. We have to commend them for excellent work under your leadership now, Chim, but also under the leadership of Madam Margaret. The third point I'd like to highlight around lessons is that we need to be coordinated in our interventions. We must be coordinated as we engage with our partners. And really, partnership needs to be strategic. Partnerships now should be focused on how do we ensure that AMA, the RECs, and the NRAs get to a point where they are sustainable. And so being strategic around this is quite important. And I will leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Tumi. You've really done a good job in steering the ship, as you say, your predecessors as well, Prof. Moji and others that came in before you. You've done a good job in steering the ship of the AMRH, and we appreciate that. Hiti, both DG as well as the chair of the steering committee have highlighted two things that I want to mention: capacity building, as well as sustainability and partnerships. I think those have been highlighted, and I was listening to them carefully, that we need to continue leveraging on what we have. We have built a solid foundation. And I know that WHO has been part of this building of this foundation under the Regulatory Harmonization Program, the AMRH, which we have been a joint secretariat, AUD and EPAD, and the WHO, since its inception, actually. With AMA now being operational, AMA has opened its doors. How will WHO continue supporting the strategy, considering that now we have an evolving environment and we are moving into AMA, and we need to leverage on this foundational work that we did? But also, what are your plans moving forward as WHO in collaborating with the continent through AMA and bolstering the new continental ecosystem through AMA?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chim, our moderator, for the session, and thank you also for having WHO into this highly powered panel, as you rightly said at the beginning. I'm also not sure whether I'm one of them, and having my seniors in the room, including my very, very bosses and mentors, in the early days. So, as you rightly say, we have been part and parcel of this journey from the day-go, and I can confirm that from my previous role as the head of the agency, but also having moved to WHO over the last 8 years, that WHO has been part and parcel of this process. And I can recall the support did not start when AMRH was being founded, but even before, through the pre-qualification program of vaccines that goes way back to 1987, but also later on the WHO pre-qualification of medicines in 2001, where many of us were exposed to the global standards of regulation of medical products. And we have been participating, many regulators from this continent, to contribute to the assessment, but also to take the knowledge back to the countries in building regulatory harmonization, but also system strengthening at the national level. And I want to testify here that when I was first invited as an assessor in pre-qualification medicines program in 2003, I remember my boss used to authorize me to go and asking that, of course, you are going there, should not compromise your contribution to the work in your own agency, and that whatever you pick there, you bring it home. And also, and also when I finished my rotational 3 months program, I wanted to go back actually, and she told me, no, you have to serve the country and the continent, and I did that, and moved back 10 years later. So I really want to say that WHO has truly been part of this program and has been deliberate in affording the NRIs of the African continent opportunities for capacity building, which is more sustainable. AMRH had two components: regulatory harmonization and regulatory system strengthening. I think in terms of harmonizing regulatory requirements, everybody can confirm that we have been providing leadership in putting together the harmonized regulatory standards, but also supporting countries in implementation through the regional economic communities. But also in terms of regulatory system strengthening, and I think the timing was also good that the GBT was introduced in 2016, and WHO was quick to start assessing the countries. My own country being one of the first towards the end of 2016 to be assessed, and later 2018 and becoming ML3, and now we have 9 that actually are at mature level 3 with stable and well-functioning regulatory system. So based on this contribution, as we were moving together as AMRH, and guided by the AMA DG, who has clearly set her priorities going forward, we remain available to bring these lessons in three areas. One is to support the DG and the team in establishing systems, processes, and procedures that aim to produce credible work products that can be trusted by the national regulatory authorities who are the owners of the African Medicines Agency. And in that case, we are of the view that AMA cannot aim for less, but the highest performance level to ensure that it is not only trusted by all the 55 member states, NRIs, but also those with mature agencies. We know that some of them are already ML3s, others are already moving to ML4, as we heard during the dinner yesterday for those who attended, but also potential WHO-listed authorities in the future. So that tells that AMA need to design its operations, its processes, its businesses based on what the top class regulator can actually deliver. And that is what we want to share as WHO, to support the DG on her call, to build those systems from the day go. And I must also report here that this commitment is not at my level, it is the commitment at the level of the organization by our DG, by our 2 regional directors for EMRO and AFRO, who are actually, the 2 regions are represented here very well. And so we will be there to support the DG to put up systems that when we invite external experts to undertake the assessment, be it based on the GBT or WHO-listed authorities, AMA becomes at the level that it can be trusted. Secondly, as we are, and she has said here that she will be taking up from the MRH work, which we have been building together over the years. So we will be there to support the AMA as it actually reviews, as it adapts and adopts what has been put together under MRH in terms of tools, guidelines, but also processes. And the support will also be informed by WHO norms and standards, but also the good regulatory and reliance practices that we are actually advocating for. And lastly, we will continue our work, last but not least, we continue our work of building national regulatory capacities. We have 9 at ML3. Others are moving to ML4. We have actually 2 expressions of interest already formally received that they want to move from ML3 to ML4. And also we know that there are others moving to becoming WHO-listed authorities. So our work to support national regulatory systems in terms of assessment using the GBT, but also capacity building, that work will continue because the strength of the African Medicines Agency is on the competencies at the national level. And that work will be enhanced to ensure that we have more mature regulators on the continent at ML3 and also beyond, but also providing as needed technical support to the AMA staff, AMA technical staff that will be working and coordinating with the national regulatory authorities, including also our lessons from the WHO pre-qualification program, which we believe the processes of assessing products and then getting the products authorized at the country level based on reliance. That experience, which we have implemented over the years since 2012 through the collaborative registration procedure, is something that we will also want to share with the African Medicines Agency to ensure that its work products goes quickly to the countries and the products are available to those who need them. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Hetty. And out of all that you have said, I've picked one thing that we are going to really look forward to and work closely with WHO. AMA will start at ML4 and WLA. Yes. So we look forward to ensuring that we work with you closely as WHO, that happens. We will move to the regs now. Sakile, we know that the AMRH has actually been grounded by the regional economic communities. And we really have to commend the regional economic communities for the work that they did in testing the concept in showing us that it is possible to work together and to harmonize. We did that through the regional economic communities. So you are the proof that this can work. And we know that there are a number of questions that different stakeholders have been asking from the meetings we held yesterday, even before. Everybody's asking, what do we expect the REC's role to be now, moving forward in this new ecosystem? Where do we place the RECs? And how do we ensure that as we work in this new network, new ecosystem, we minimize or avoid, if anything, duplication, and ensure that there's seamless flow of work between the continental, the regional, and the national levels?
Thank you, Chair, and also a very good morning to everyone. I think in response to your question, I would like to think that the success of SCoMRA depends as much on what it builds going forward as it does on what it continues to preserve. And I think my boss, Dr. Tumi, aptly reminded us of the legacy that we already have. So what am I saying? I'm basically saying that under the new ecosystem, the REC initiatives that have been the backbone so far, they're not being replaced, but rather that we need to think of them as being repositioned. So, you know, and the DG also underpinned that by saying that we are not starting from scratch. So I therefore see the distinct role as being the ability to remain that operational bridge between the continental mandate that SCoMRA has and the regulatory realities that face the actual member states that support and build up to SCoMRA. So practically, I guess maybe the RECs should continue to be those that translate the policies into regional action. So we ensure that the continental strategies continue to be adapted. I mean, we've had these TCs that have now evolved under the pilot that have always come up with different policies, procedures, etc., that we have been trickling down and integrating down to the member states. It would also be good to see the RECs continuing to sustain and expand their MRH platforms. So it has been proven through the pilot at continental level that the member states can again come together. But then we must not forget that there is also a lot of work that can continue to be done within the networking. So the EAC, MRH, Zazibona, all the REC initiatives should not actually disappear but continue, because they already have that proven track record of reducing duplication and speeding up reviews. So I see that as something that will continue. I also see the RECs as continuing to build capacity and the trust that is required for reliance amongst the NRAs, so that reliance really becomes something that is a working reality. And I think you asked specifically about avoiding duplication. So in that regard, we really need to be very clear and decisive about a functional division of labor across the continent, so that we're not actually, you know, stepping on each other's toes for one, and continuing to utilize the same resources for exactly the same thing. So in the context of work sharing, I see SCoMRA providing the continental policy direction and the convergence framework. And then the RECs are the ones that will operationalize those policies through the harmonized technical work. So I think they will be a platform for technical work at SCoMRA, as we've seen, because we've already taken the trouble to delineate the kind of products that would actually be handled at the level of SCoMRA, and those that would be at the REC level, and those that would be at the national level. But essentially, a three-tier system that is supportive of each other. And of course, we still must remember that the NRAs still have their basic national mandate to continue to take to carry forward. So I think if somebody was to think of it in terms of an orchestra or music, one would say that AMA is the one that would set the rhythm. Then you would have the REC being the one that coordinates the orchestra. And then we always rely on the expertise of the NRAs to be the actual instrument players. And so we shouldn't really mess with what we have in place. We should just refine it. So again, RECs being repositioned rather than being replaced.
Thank you very much, Sakile, for reminding us that RECs will be still a core component of the regulatory ecosystem, and we look forward to the coordination between the continental, the regional, as well as the national level. And this is why actually we set our discussion in such a way that we start from the continental, we go to the regional, and then we go to the national. And Dr. Coulibaly, apologies, I actually forgot you on the list. But you are an important and a core player in the continental ecosystem, because national regulatory authorities are the ones that are going to drive the work either of AMA all of the regional economic communities. I think everyone who has spoken before has indicated an important role that NRAs will play in the ecosystem, because without NRAs, AMA will not be able to do much. We depend on national regulatory authorities, and you are one of the leaders in this space, a head of a national regulatory authority for Cote d'Ivoire. And you, quite amazing work. We have worked well with your team in trying to advance and move forward your regulatory authority and participate effectively in the continental ecosystem. What is the one thing that you need the African Medicines Agency to most significantly strengthen from your perspective as a national regulatory authority to ensure that there is effectiveness and there's speed when it comes to decision making? So over to you, sir.
Merci. Je vais m'exprimer en français. Donc, please take your earphone for those who don't speak French. I'm more fluent in French, so I prefer to speak French. Alors, merci à Chimomwe. Même si vous m'avez oublié, en fait, vous me permettez de passer juste après les communautés économiques. Et je pense que c'est la bonne position. Donc, ce n'est pas un oubli, vous êtes tout excusés. Et donc, merci au comité d'organisation. Merci aux autorités kenyanes, le pays qui nous accueille. De même, mes remerciements à l'agence OUDA NEPAD et au comité d'harmonisation de la réglementation, à MRH, à mes illustres prédécesseurs aussi qui ont pris la parole avant moi. Alors, vous me posez la question de savoir qu'est-ce qui est l'attente des autorités nationales de régulation. Je vais aller droit au but. Nous avons un besoin critique qui est le besoin de la confiance réglementaire ou, comme on dit en anglais, la reliance envers l'AMA. Et il faut retenir que les autorités nationales de réglementation pharmaceutique ont une responsabilité au niveau national. C'est une responsabilité juridique. Nous sommes ceux-là même qui délivrons les autorisations de mise sur le marché des produits. Et quand il y a des conséquences du fait de la mauvaise qualité des produits ou du mésusage de ces médicaments, de la mauvaise information, etc., il y va de notre entière responsabilité. Alors, l'AMA, les communautés économiques régionales, toutes les organisations, l'OMS, toutes ces structures ont été pourvues par du personnel venant des autorités nationales de régulation pharmaceutique. Donc nous sommes, comme on aime le dire en Côte d'Ivoire, nous sommes ensemble et c'est un mariage qui va durer très longtemps. Alors, qu'est-ce que j'entends par confiance réglementaire, reliance? C'est d'abord le fait que nous puissions disposer en temps réel de tous les rapports techniques d'évaluation des produits de santé. Là, avec le pilote qui a été conduit par l'AMRH, il y a 12 produits qui ont été retenus, mais les rapports ne sont pas encore partagés. Il faudrait le faire, c'est impératif. Et donc ces rapports techniques d'évaluation des produits de santé et par la suite tous les comités techniques, les 11 comités techniques qui sont mis en place ou qui sont en train d'être mis en place par la directrice générale, qui produisent aussi donc des rapports d'évaluation des produits, qui produisent également des rapports d'inspection des unités de production dans le monde ou sur le continent africain. Nous avons besoin de travailler avec ces outils parce que c'est le substrat des agences de régulation et nous devons avoir une confiance totale dans ces rapports. Le deuxième élément que je veux citer, que j'ai appelé le catalyseur de la confiance, c'est ce que j'ai appelé le AMA-DMF ou l'AMA Drug Master File. C'est donc un rapport scientifique avec des monographies scientifiques, des substances actives, des principes actifs, des excipients importants qui rentrent dans la composition de ces produits, qui doivent nous apporter un gage, une sécurité en matière d'assurance qualité de ces composants qui rentrent dans la fabrication des médicaments que nous autorisons sur nos marchés. Et ce système de AMA, Drug Master File, c'est un peu l'équivalent de ce qu'on a avec l'Union européenne, avec l'Agence européenne du médicament qui va prendre la parole tout à l'heure. C'est le CEP, le certificat de conformité à la pharmacopée européenne, ou aux États-Unis, on a le US FDA DMF. Nos pays sont très dépendants, comme ça a été dit tout à l'heure par la présentation de M. Simer. On est dépendant des importations, nos produits viennent de très loin. On a des produits aussi qui viennent de pays développés qui ne sont pas toujours abordables, mais la qualité doit rester quelque chose de garanti. Et donc ce rapport scientifique, ces monographies, sont des éléments précurseurs, si je peux dire, de la pharmacopée ou du codex medicamentus africain. Donc nos attentes, c'est d'abord donc le cadre de créer la confiance réglementaire entre l'AMA et les autorités nationales de régulation, mais également mettre à disposition ce processus d'assurance qualité, ces monographies, ce codex medicamentus qui va donc nous assurer que les produits que nous recevons sont de bonne qualité. Je ne peux pas arrêter sans parler de cet événement malheureux qui s'est produit en Gambie. Je ne sais pas si vous vous rappelez, le DG de la Gambie est là. Voilà des produits qui ont été introduits en médecine infantile. C'était des sirops contre la toux ou des sirops pour abaisser la fièvre, mais qui étaient contaminés par un composant, un excipient. C'est même pas le principe actif. C'est l'excipient des suspensions qui, malheureusement, contenait du monoéthylène glycol, du diéthylène glycol. Ces produits sont répertoriés depuis de très longues années dans les pharmacopées européennes, etc. Mais nous sommes tout le temps africains en train de nous référer à des pharmacopées étrangères. Il nous faut notre pharmacopée portée par l'Agence africaine du médicament. Il nous faut notre référentiel de qualité locale et c'est quand même un de nos éléments de souveraineté. Et toute cette documentation doit venir en appui au développement de notre industrie locale. Voilà, je vais m'arrêter là d'abord. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, Dr. Coulibaly, for really emphasizing the importance of ensuring that information flows, documents are available, and they are ready to guide member states. As well as also you emphasized on the issues around trust, issues around confidence, which I'm sure the DG is taking note, and she will make sure that as we move forward with AMA, those things are addressed. I would like to move to you, IFPMA, Dr. Sarah Adam. we have worked quite closely with the IFPMA over the years to ensure that we deliver on what we are talking about today, including the listing of the human medicinal products that we recently did. And there are quite a number of lessons that we have learned over time from the engagement that we have done with the industry. From your perspective, what are the top 2 features of the future AMA, and I think it's no longer the future AMA, it's the AMA now, that you would most significantly want to increase your confidence in submitting products for continental approval?
Thank you, Jim, for this opportunity. So looking ahead for top 2 features for the future of AMA and what would be important for the industry would be first predictable, transparent and efficient review timelines with clear guidance, documents and robust digital platforms. We discussed this yesterday and I think we are going to hear it a lot. There will be a special session on digitalization, artificial intelligence, so I think this is coming for all of us, and this would be very helpful for submission and tracking of our dossiers and make the process more efficient and robust and reliable. Because predictability is key for planning our decisions, and basically this is exactly the role of the reliance framework that is established on the AMA, which will promote faster access to medicinal products, improve regulatory efficiency by enabling all African NRAs to rely on the work done by other regulators on the continent and also globally. And our membership, our industry members really appreciated the opportunity to participate in this first AMA pilot on continental listing. And we think that also the adoption of new technologies, such as digital tools and AI, would be very helpful, essential to streamline the product life cycle, pharmacovigilance, life cycle management, and also helpful to will transform the regulatory ecosystem very fast. And this is enhancing already transparency and reducing regulatory uncertainty by enabling real-time monitoring and also faster decision-making for all of us. What we are also, we would like to see coming is one digital platform portal for the continental procedure, and that would remove duplication at different levels, regional or even national levels, and streamline approval timelines following recommendation from the EMPTC and AMA. Thank you. So this feature would be really helpful to transform the regulatory landscape.
Thank you very much. I've picked the 4 words: predictability, transparency, efficiency, reliability. And it is our desire that the African Medicines Agency addresses that, so that it is attractive to, for manufacturers to participate. And that takes adoption of technology, innovation. You've talked about a number of technologies that the African Medicines Agency could consider. We will now move to our participants that are online. We will start with the European Medicines Agency. And I think the European Medicines Agency is actually, we have been calling it the sister agency of the African Medicines Agency, because I think this is the only one that is similar to what is being set up at the continental level. So, Dr. Emma Cook, you are at the driving seat of the European Medicines Agency. And the EMA, Martin yesterday told us that we recently celebrated 30 years of the EMA's existence. It actually demonstrates a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience that we can learn from and leapfrog as a continent. What would be your specific advice to the African Medicines Agency, both from the technical point of view as well as the operational point of view, as it starts up, as in the startup phase of the African Medicines Agency, so that we can hit the ground running? We don't want to repeat the mistakes. We want to learn from them and, hit the road and move faster than even what you did. We want to do what you did in 30 years, probably in 5 years, if it is possible. So over to you. Give us a minute. We are sorting out sound. We can't hear you.
Sure.
Can you try there? They have sorted it out?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Okay, great. Okay, well, apologies for that little technical challenge. But I was just saying what a pleasure it was to join you virtually, and specifically for this session about moving from AMRH to AMA and how we anchor Africa's regulatory future. But I have to say I've been listening with great interest to the panel and also the previous session, and I think a lot of what I'm going to say has been said. But I think the issues I want to address are really. I want to answer your question about how can EMA help the AMA hit the ground running. Now, Jim, you mentioned our 30 years of experience, and this 30 years has allowed us to build a robust model of regulatory collaboration across Europe. But it also means that we're in a position to support our sister agency, the African Medicines Agency, in its foundational phase. And we were delighted to be able to host Mimi and some members of the governing board at our offices earlier this year. If I look back at our 30 years experience in the European network, I think that the success factors for the African agency are not really so much different from those that we faced as a European agency. And I have three specific pieces of advice. These pieces of advice are both technical and operational, but I think they could underpin how the AMA hits the ground running and fulfills its potential. My first advice is about ensuring and maintaining the credibility of the AMA. My second advice is to build a strong scientific and regulatory backbone and ensure engagement with stakeholders. And my third advice is about strengthening collaboration among regulatory authorities, and I know you have done this over the last 20 years. So let's start with credibility. The AMA has a strong inaugural governing body that will set the agency on its way, and it's critical that all stakeholders have confidence in AMA's governing structures. So independence from political influences as well as scientific rigor will be critical. AMA must build and establish a strong scientific foundation right from the start and ensure that all its decisions and actions are driven solely by science and public health. My second piece of advice is again to stress the scientific and regulatory backbone and the engagement with stakeholders, because establishing a clear governance structure with a robust scientific secretariat, technical committees and expert networks will allow you to lead evaluations, inspections and pharmacovigilance, and this should be a priority for the African Medicines Agency. This will be essential to ensure autonomy, credibility and impact across Africa. And it will be also very important to further develop the continental procedures that you've just talked about, building on the successful pilot programs that we have been happy to support at EMA. And of course, it's important that AMA embed stakeholder engagement, industry, civil society, and healthcare professionals and patients to ensure that the work they're doing is heard and respected by all the stakeholders. It's very important that stakeholder engagement is built into its governance and decision making from the very beginning. Now, I want to talk finally about the collaboration, and we've talked a lot about this during this panel. But based on our experience as the European Medicines Agency, we really understand that our strength lies in the way we coordinate our network, and the success and whether AMA succeeds or fails will in the end depend on the strength of the national agencies and how they work together. So AMA should prioritise building a structured collaboration among African NRAs and RECs with clear roles, responsibilities and communication channels between them. I think it's also very important, and you've heard a lot about this during the panel as well, that regulatory reliance is at the forefront of how the agency operates. Our European system is built on reliance and inclusivity, and it's important to build systems that allow NRAs to work together and rely on each other. And it's really important that no one gets left behind, because some pharma companies may not be incentivized to register the medicines in the NRAs of smaller countries. And for all Africans to benefit from a greater access to medicines, it's important for AMA to build mechanisms to ensure inclusivity across the continent. And of course, capacity building and mechanisms to embrace innovation must be built in from the start. So to summarise, AMA has a unique opportunity to build a modern, collaborative and efficient regulatory system that is precisely tailored to Africa's needs. And by working together and by supporting AMA, we can strengthen regulatory systems, enhance the quality of healthcare and address challenges that transcend borders. EMA is proud to stand with you, and we look forward to the journey ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Emma Cook, for that message. And actually, we really are very proud of the work that we have done together in the listing. I think that has actually shown that the two continents can work together and the two continents can learn from each other. And we believe that moving forward, that is going to be the spirit that we will be working in. And also, I think one of the things that I wanted to emphasize that you mentioned is the issue around reliance, scientific excellence, as well as public health considerations. And I think I wanted to zoom in before we go to the end. We'll give some 30 minutes or 20 minutes for questions. But before we go there, I really just wanted to touch on a little bit about reliance and trust. Because Dr. Coulibaly, you talked about trust. You talked about ensuring that we have key documents available that will enable NRAs rely on the work that AMA will be doing. I want to start with you, Dr. Coulibaly, because you are the one who started actually mentioning the word trust first. What would you want to see in the AMA moving forward for you to have increased confidence and trust that will enable national regulatory authorities move with confidence?
Merci. Effectivement, j'ai beaucoup parlé de confiance. Vous avez vu que ça a été repris par la directrice générale de l'EMA également. C'est un point important. Par confiance réglementaire, on entend donc l'échange de toute la documentation. Le mot de réseautage a été employé. Il faut que nous formions un véritable réseau avec l'AMA et que cet accompagnement nous permette donc d'avoir tous les organes, donc la mise en place de toutes les commissions techniques au sein de l'AMA, commission auxquelles nous participons, commission auxquelles nous allons participer. Et ces commissions doivent s'appuyer sur des documentations solides et on a vraiment besoin d'un référentiel africain, un outil de souveraineté de l'Afrique. J'ai cité tantôt le certificat de conformité pour les matières premières. européen, le certificat de conformité américain. Il est grand temps que nous ayons aussi un référentiel africain porté par la directrice générale de l'Agence africaine du médicament, qui va s'imposer à nos fournisseurs de produits venant d'ailleurs, ou même quand nous allons développer notre industrie pharmaceutique locale, quand elle va atteindre ses sommets, il faudra aussi que les acteurs soient contrôlés. L'industrie pharmaceutique, vous avez l'industrie de la matière première qui est l'industrie chimique, et vous avez la véritable industrie pharmaceutique qui est une industrie de formulation. Et la formulation doit s'appuyer sur des matières de bonne qualité avec l'implémentation d'un bon système de bonnes pratiques de fabrication, GMP en anglais. Alors, j'en profite aussi pour parler de ce développement d'industrie pharmaceutique puisque c'est mon secteur d'origine. On a besoin aussi que l'AMA nous appuie dans la mise en place d'un business model pour l'industrie pharmaceutique. Aujourd'hui, il y a un modèle qui est en train de dominer au niveau mondial, c'est ce qu'on appelle le contract manufacturing. Ça veut dire que tous ces produits qui viennent d'ailleurs, qui sont importés sur le continent africain, devraient être fabriqués localement par des entreprises qui respectent des bonnes pratiques de fabrication continentale. Il y a eu beaucoup de sessions de travail sur la feuille de route des bonnes pratiques de fabrication pharmaceutique. On a eu le PMPA qui a été porté par l'Union africaine, par l'AUDA NEPAD, le plan de manufacture pour l'Afrique. Tous ces outils existent. Maintenant, il faut les mettre en œuvre. Mais l'AMA doit être l'agence qui oblige une bonne frange, une bonne part de ces produits importés à être fabriqués localement. Et il faut promouvoir peut-être la production au niveau des communautés économiques régionales pour que on trouve dans un écosystème équilibré tout ce qu'il faut au niveau de chacune de nos régions. Il y a également d'autres outils qui existent comme les CRO, les Contract Research Organization, la conduite des essais cliniques, les études de pharmacovigilance, de pharmacocinétique, etc. Tout ça doit être mené sous l'impulsion de l'Agence africaine du médicament avec l'appui des autorités nationales de régulation. Et c'est vraiment à ce titre que nous allons, bon, bien entendu, il y a d'autres outils, il y a la digitalisation dont tout le monde parle, l'intelligence artificielle. Aujourd'hui, aux États-Unis, il paraît qu'ils ont intégré une intelligence artificielle qui fait que les dossiers d'AMM sont délivrés dans des temps records, je ne sais pas, peut-être en 2 semaines ou quelque chose comme ça. Nous, on en est loin, mais le modèle qui est adopté ici aujourd'hui, c'est de délivrer sur la base des rapports de l'AMA, de pouvoir délivrer au niveau national en 90 jours, 3 mois. Et c'est quelque chose qui est possible dans la mesure où ces rapports nous permettent d'économiser du temps et de la compétence. Voilà, je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. And DG, before we go to Dan online, DG, I think you've heard him, especially around the issues of trust. How will you, as DG, ensure that AMA's assessments are trusted by NRAs and they are picked up and utilized by the national regulatory authorities? Because I think the success of AMA actually is not just on the continental recommendations and approval, but when the products get to the people that need them. And I think national regulatory authorities are at the heart of that in addressing the public health needs of the continent.
Thank you, Chair. Initially, I didn't want to preempt what Hiti was going to say. So one of the things that I wanted to first say was, first of all, AMA should be positioned, and Hiti has offered his support, that AMA needs to be at a certain level for us to be initially trusted by all. And Hiti has offered us ML4, but we refused it and said we wanted to be WLA. And Hiti has agreed that AMA at the first instance will be WLA and not ML4. Secondly, AMA has to be fully, and I don't like the word, I always say it, digitalized. Yes, AMA has to be enabled such that, he talked about transparency. Without transparency, there can never be trust. He talked about the fact that when AMA does anything, the countries must see it immediately. Right? AMA has to be openly accessible to all its member states. all the regs. So anything that is done by AMA, so for example, AMRH did, between us, we did the listing of the 12 products. Immediately, everything that was done should be immediately accessible to the country so that they can follow up. That is trust building. So as soon as there's an assessment or a listing, the country should immediately have access to everything that was done. That is trust building. As soon as they can see the reports, as soon as they have access to documentation, as soon as they have access to information at one touch. And as we are digitalizing AMA, and that word comes up again, we need to as well build that same capacity in the state parties and in the member states. AMA cannot be digitalized up there and the countries do not have access to the same digital platforms. So AMA has to have the same digital, the member states or the state parties have to have that same capacity as AMA has to be able to access AMA's platforms. And as soon as at the touch of a button, each member state or each state party, because we'll soon all be state parties, should be able to see AMA's data at the touch of a button. That gives them the assurance that they can see everything that AMA is doing. If they need any safety data, they have the safety data. With capacity building in place, they have that trust that everything that AMA is doing, they can see it. They have the capacity. We've already built the capacity. They can follow up. If they need any information, they have that information. AMA will provide that information. We already say that AMA is not doing everything. We've already strengthened them. That is how the trust is built. If we keep information from them, there's no trust that is built. So information access, digital platforms, etc., etc. We will work with partners to ensure we can build that. But information exchange and transparency is what builds trust. And that is what AMA should offer, and that is what AMA is going to offer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DG. And we will then move to the Gates Foundation. The Gates Foundation has been a partner from the word go, from the beginning of the AMRH initiative. And I think they remain an important partner of the AMRH within their partnership platform. So we give the opportunity to Dan Hardman. He recorded his message to address issues around partnership. What have they learned in the issue in the AMRH since the collaboration that we started from the inception, the journey that we have walked together? How do we ensure that it continues to be sustainable and to be effective as we move to the African Medicines Agency?
It is a privilege to join this distinguished panel at a defining moment for Africa's health architecture. I wish I could be with you in person. I've not missed a single SCoMRA meeting since its inception, and I consider attending this meeting one of the highlights of my year. I have watched the progress of the African regulatory system with pride in my heart for all the progress that has been made. I will also miss seeing so many friends and colleagues in person, and I am hopeful I will see you at the next meeting. The transition from AMRH to AMA represents more than an institutional evolution. It is a statement of confidence in Africa's capacity to regulate, innovate, and manufacture for its own health needs. Like many of you, the Gates Foundation sees a robust and predictable regulatory system as the backbone of innovation. Without strong regulation, new vaccines, diagnostics, and therapies cannot reach people equitably or quickly. Regulatory system strengthening is one of the Foundation's top priorities because of our investment in cutting-edge science, from mRNA platforms to monoclonal antibodies and long-acting injectables. Impact from these innovations depend on a clear, trusted, and effective
So we'll come back to the message from Dan as the technical team sorts out the technical challenge. But I want to move to you, Sarah. From the industry perspective, what are the tangible signals of an operational AMA, a fully operational AMA? Where will we say that AMA is fully operational? Because I had a conversation with one of the participants just this morning. Actually, we were saying that, we didn't know AMA is operational. We didn't know AMA is here. What would be the signals that AMA is fully operational? From your perspective as the industry.
Thank you, Ms. Chim. We talk about predictability and transparency on timelines, so I'm not going to go back to this, but this would be one of the elements I believe that we find very critical for effectiveness of the agency. We also discussed the importance of early and regular dialogue with the industry to help shape together, co-create processes that fits all needs and could be really easily facilitate implementation at different levels. And if we could add two additional points, it would be making sure that the AMA decisions are recognized across all participating member states without any additional requirements. So this is essential to ensure that harmonization will take place, and also making sure that we are avoiding duplication and providing fast access to medicines, vaccines to all patients in Africa. The fourth one that I'd like to add is the importance of having a clear funding model and governance structure that guarantees independence and continuity. And yesterday we started the discussion. It's early, but it's coming. We had during the pre-SCoMRA Industry Engagement Day an opportunity to share industry's perspective on what we think is important for like a fee-for-service model that would be actually for the Africa Medicine Agency, a model for the continent, and this is a step to the right direction. And one point that we mentioned yesterday was the importance to engage all stakeholders, and I'm echoing other colleagues here. We are missing the patients, and we should make sure that there is also a platform for engagement with the patients in the room. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm hoping that DG, you're hearing that. What the industry feels that is a full operational AMA. And you will come back to that later. I think I'm sure you are internalizing it.
I said it yesterday.
You said it yesterday, and it will be addressed. Thank you very much. Before we go back to Dan's message, Hiti and Ima online, you are two technical partners. And you know, sometimes when there's so much technical partnership in different areas that is not coordinated, instead of adding value, it increases duplication. It contributes to inefficiencies sometimes if it's not well coordinated. Moving forward, we really want to ensure that as AMA engages partners, this kind of duplication, this kind of, bringing in of, sometimes you feel like it's overwhelming to some of the technical partnerships that we have. How will we ensure that there's coordinated partnership, there's coordinated engagement that will add value to the work of the African Medicines Agency? So I will ask you, and then Ima, you can also take it up in a minute. 1 minute response, Haiti.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a 1 minute response with that question is quite challenging, but I'll do my best. So first of all, I think I'm very happy to say that, and Ima will confirm this actually, because EMA published the 10 years of collaboration, of successful collaboration between WHO and the European Medicines Agency, I think a few weeks ago, or a month or so. And this is something that actually clearly demonstrates that we are working together, and there are many lessons there. But secondly, we have European Medicines Agency is actually a member of our network of Coalition of Interested Parties, CIP, and that was established to very specifically address what you're saying in terms of duplication and redundancies in terms of support to regulatory strengthening, but also harmonization. So, and Martin is our vice chair of the CIP. So certainly there is no space for duplication between WHO and the European Medicines Agency, because we know who can provide what support to the EMA, to the ecosystem on the African continent, as we are already doing now. So in the context of EMA being part of the CIP, certainly we do not foresee any potential duplication in providing technical assistance to the European Medicines Agency, because we are coordinated at the global level, not only between WHO and EMA, but also with other partners. So support coming to the agency will be informed by the needs that the agency, the African Medicines Agency, has defined. So that will be our approach. And also to say that as the DG has a very determined vision of becoming a WHO-listed authority and working in the context also of network of regulators on the continent, while also mindful of the differences in terms of the legal system that underpins the regulatory network in Africa as opposed to Europe. Certainly, our lessons with EMA to in their journey to becoming WHO-listed authority will be instrumental to supporting AMA. So these lessons will also be brought up here. And as you said this morning, I also want to mention that 2 of our members of the advisory group on WHO-listed authorities that advises our Assistant Director General before listing are also in this room, and the chair is here. Gugu is the chair of the Technical Advisory Group on WHO-listed authorities, and Dalia is a member. And so I think you are well covered there, and therefore DG's vision can already be informed by those who have first-hand information right from the beginning. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Ima, you will come in. The technical team first. Are we ready with Dan's input? Can we try it? And then Ima, you come in for a minute on the same issue of coordination. Thereafter, we will open for just about 3 to 5 questions or comments before we go to the conclusion.
Pathway. Over the decade, the Foundation has partnered closely with the African Union and Outa NEPAD to support the AMRH initiative, both technically and financially, helping to lay the groundwork for harmonized regulatory practice across the continent. This support reflects a belief that a strong regulatory system is not a luxury, but a prerequisite for equitable access. AMRH has delivered significant achievements: joint dossier reviews, regional centers of regulatory excellence, and a growing culture of collaboration amongst NRAs. As AMA takes the baton, it is vital to build on this progress, not replace it. The transition must be smooth, deliberate, and inclusive, ensuring that the knowledge, trust, and systems created under AMRH are institutionalized. The AMA should, and I am convinced will, start on the right footing, with a clear blueprint, sustainable financing, and digital systems that connect regulators, manufacturers, and policymakers across the continent. The Gates Foundation envisions the AMA as a best-in-class regulatory body, agile, transparent, and grounded in science. A strong AMA can coordinate regulatory oversight across regions, serve as an arbitrator and standard setter, providing continental guidance on quality, safety, and efficacy. Offer a reliance basis, enabling RECs and NRAs to trust and act on the AMA's decision, reducing duplication and accelerating access. To achieve this, digitalization and AI must be central. Smart regulatory information systems can enhance dossier tracking, data analytics, pharmacovigilance, and transparency. AI-driven tools can help regulators assess complex products faster while maintaining rigor. The AMA's blueprint, digital blueprint, must be sustainable, open, interoperable, and built for the long term. A credible, predictable, continental regulator will transform Africa's innovation and R&D landscape. When companies, African or global, have confidence in regulatory clarity, they invest in local production. AMA can be a catalyst for vaccine self-sufficiency, biopharmaceutical innovation, and regional trade in health technologies. The result? Increased manufacturing of vaccines, biologics, and other advanced therapies on the continent by African institutions for African populations. One of the Gates Foundation's greatest aspirations is to support African institutions that sustainably safeguard the health of African people. AMA has the potential to be such a legacy institution, a symbol of continental unity, scientific excellence, and self-reliance. The journey ahead will require partnership, humility, and persistence. But with a shared purpose, the AMA can redefine what regulatory excellence looks like globally. Let us ensure that the AMA starts not only strong, but smart, built on trust, digital innovation, and Africa leadership. If we succeed, the AMA will not just regulate products, it will enable the future of African innovation. I wish you all a productive meeting.
Thank you very much, Dan, for those remarks. And I think, as I said earlier, we really appreciate the coordination and the partnership that we have had over the years to get to where we are with the Gates Foundation. And I think this is where we need smart partnerships. And I think, as Hiti has said, the important role of coordination of this partnership is key. But before we go to the questions, which is will allow for maximum of 5, I had put Emma on hold for just 1 minute. How will EMA coordinate with other technical partners? Is Emma still online? Okay, we'll come back to her. She will include that in her concluding remarks. Are you online? Okay, I can see she's online, but we can't hear her.
Okay.
Okay, good. We can hear you now. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Yeah?
Yes,
okay,
we can hear you.
Apologies. Okay. So I was just trying to look at 3 different components. So the ideas of trust and transparency, partnership, and avoiding duplication. And I wanted just to assure you all that avoiding duplication is both a personal ambition and a professional goal of the European Medicines Agency. And this is one of the reasons why our head of international affairs, Martin Harvey, who's with you today, he's vice chair of the Coalition of Interested Parties. We strongly believe that avoiding duplication ensures that our support can be strategic, complementary, and empowering. And if we think about the complementarity with WHO, we see WHO as the global standard setter and EMA as a technical mentor who can share best practices. And if we think of it in this context, we think we can ensure that AMA receives coherent and targeted support. We strongly believe that we need to co-develop tools, we need to co-develop frameworks, we need to co-develop systems with EMA, not for EMA, but with EMA, and this will ensure the long-term sustainability and ownership. We're part of a team, and we're ready to be part of the African Medicines Agency team. And being part of a team means that we work hand in hand, we trust each other, we are transparent, and we avoid duplication.
Thank you. Thank you for that commitment to ensure that there's coordination and in partnerships. So as we move towards the end, I would like to open the floor for some maximum 5 comments or questions. If you have any one comment per person. We'll limit it to one comment or one question per person. We won't go beyond that because we do not have time. And we have a maximum of 5. I see there's a hand right in front of me. So let's do this. For us to be fair, we'll pick one per section. So I don't see any hand on that section. So we will move here. We will pick one hand. And the first hand that I saw coming up is of you, sir. Yes. We'll discuss later. So we'll start with you. Can we have the mic? And then we'll move here. We'll come to you. And we'll go to the lady, unfortunately, sir. We'll go to the lady behind you. And we'll go to the end on the other section. We already picked here, unfortunately. Sorry, ma'am. So we'll address those 5 and indicate which panelist you are addressing your question to.
Merci beaucoup. J'ai peur de parler en français. Moi, je suis de la République de Djibouti. Je remercie l'invitation qui a été adressée par le NEPAD, par l'OMS. Ma question concernant comment l'AMA va-t-il assurer l'autonomie financière pour ne pas dépendre de l'aide étrangère. Est-ce que pour la survie de notre agence, l'autonomie financière, merci beaucoup, pour ne pas dépendre des agences des Nations Unies. Merci.
Oui, merci beaucoup pour la parole. C'est Dr Sagesse de la RDC. Je suis très content que Dr Delessé puisse prendre la direction générale de l'AMA. C'était aussi le souhait du comité de pilotage qu'un DG puisse piloter cette structure. Nous sommes très contents parce qu'elle était active, elle ne va pas commencer à zéro, elle sait là où elle va commencer. Mais la question est la suivante, elle compte promouvoir l'industrie locale. Je voudrais un peu savoir comment elle va devoir le faire. Et aussi, parmi ses priorités, suggérer quelle est la place des inspections pharmaceutiques, parce qu'il y a une forte contrefaçon des produits pharmaceutiques au niveau de l'Afrique. Et la toute dernière, c'est quoi la place de la société civile, ou quelle sera la place de la société civile au sein de l'Agence africaine des médicaments? Merci.
Can you give the mic to the lady?
Merci. Donc moi, c'est pas une question, c'est juste on va dire une contribution. Je suis le docteur Peggy Raymond Conjugo Batoma. Je suis chef de service santé au niveau de la communauté économique des États de l'Afrique centrale. Et je représente également, en tant que CER, l'Afrique centrale au niveau du conseil d'administration de l'AMA. Et donc, je voulais juste, avec l'intervention de la DG, d'abord saluer le choix de sa personne à la tête de l'AMA, mais surtout faire comprendre que nous avons vraiment, nous, au niveau du conseil d'administration, un très grand et une lourde charge avec ce que je vois, pour pouvoir appuyer justement la mise en place de l'AMA et surtout permettre son opérationnalisation. Et nous devons, en tout cas à notre niveau au conseil d'administration, mettre les bouchées doubles, afin de faciliter le travail de la DG. Donc c'était juste pour pouvoir m'exprimer dans ce sens-là, voir vraiment le travail, la lourde tâche que nous avons, mais qu'elle, en tant que DG, a, et nous saluons vraiment l'importance de ces assises aujourd'hui. Donc merci, c'était mon intervention.
There was another hand, I think, at the back. The last one.
Merci pour la parole. Je suis Irénée Niambo de la République démocratique du Congo. Je m'adresse à la directrice de l'AMA. C'est plutôt une contribution par rapport à son travail. Par rapport à la réglementation, il y a des conditions. Pour ce qui est de la fabrication des médicaments, il y a des conditions pour que les médicaments soient de bonne qualité et pour qu'ils puissent être sur la liste qui ont les autorisations. Alors j'insiste sur la collaboration entre cette institution, cette agence, avec les autorités de réglementation locales. Parce que moi je crois que lorsque une industrie a plutôt rempli les conditions de bonnes pratiques de production de médicaments, je crois que c'est la condition essentielle pour que le produit soit accepté. Mais il y a d'autres conditions qui suivent par rapport à l'accréditation des produits par l'OMS qui des fois limitent certaines industries locales. J'en connais quelques-uns dans notre pays qui ont du mal à pouvoir obtenir les accréditations de leurs médicaments à l'OMS par rapport aux autres conditions qui suivent les bonnes pratiques de fabrication de médicaments. Donc c'est juste une contribution pour que les autres conditions secondaires soient plutôt contextualisées au pays, parce que tous les pays n'ont pas le même niveau de vie, n'ont pas le même moyen non plus. Donc les autres conditions soient contextualisées à part cette condition principale qui est des bonnes pratiques médicales, des bonnes pratiques de fabrication de médicaments, ça c'est universel, mais les autres conditions doivent être contextualisées au pays. Merci.
Thank you very much. DG, I think everything was directed to you. But two were questions, two were comments. The question was from Djibouti regarding financial sustainability. How will AMA ensure financial sustainability? And also there was a question from DRC with regards to support to local manufacturing. How will AMA support that? The two comments from ECAS, thank you for your support, but also the other last one was a comment. You may want to comment on the last comment which relates to, I think it relates to local manufacturing, PQ and AMA, how will AMA support? And I see DG, you are pointing at Hiti, so that Hiti can also comment on the PQ question. But we'll start with you. Over to you, DG.
Thank you very much. My board chairman was somewhere. I'm hoping he will support me on this. But so I'm glad I have Ima on the line because she's my closest agency with this. But AMA is not alone on this. If you look at the way AMA operates, AMA fortunately has something we call state party contributions. So every state party is supposed to have a certain contribution that is supposed to support the work of AMA. And we are working with the state parties to be able to give us this contribution. AMA does not want to, it wants to be Africa owned. We cannot continue to rely on donors. Donors are supposed to supplement what AMA does. So if we say we're going to rely only on donor funding to do our work, it would not be completely Africa owned. So the state party contributions is one of them, and this contribution is paid annually. Apart from that, AMA will also, if you look at the European Medicines Agency, most of the, I think about 90% of their fees, of their funding comes from fees that they make for, they charge for their services, as with normal regulatory authorities. So for products, evaluation, for inspections, for data, AMA will be a repository of data, whether it's the pharmacovigilance data, we will have a digital platform, there'll be subscriptions, etc. We have to be innovative, we have to be strategic, we have to be transactional, we have to be very deliberate in ensuring that we have fees for the services that we provide. Otherwise, we will not survive. Not all, I mean, we know what happens on the continent. I mean, even now, we have 31 countries, and not even 10%, maybe 15% have been able to pay this seed fund, but we are looking forward to them paying. Otherwise, the rest of the money will come from partners, but we want to minimize that as much as we can and look to partners for technical support rather than, but partners funding is always welcome, but it should be secondary to what our commitments are. So we will chase these commitments from the countries and be deliberate about the fees that we charge to be able to sustain at least 50 to 60% of our services. So that is where our fees should be coming from. The second, I hope I've addressed that as well as I can. We're just starting out, so we will look at our fee models properly and make sure that we come up with a good fee structure, working with our board, working with the Conference of State Parties, and working with the F15 to come up with a good advice on the fees that we need to be able to operate. There was a question on civil society. The question was, what can civil society do? And civil society can actually do a lot. Civil society, even if you look at, we talk about local manufacturing. And I remember during COVID, if South Africa, I'm not wrong, so there were vaccines that were produced that were never used. And we will sit here and say that we are going to manufacture vaccines and complex products on the continent, and you may be surprised that these products will never be taken up. Civil society can play a very important role in acceptability of products that are manufactured on the continent, and they should be our greatest allies. To even champion the African Medicines Agency by itself as an agency for Africa, we will use civil society, and we have actually started looking at who our civil society groups are. They should be the ones that should champion what we are doing, whether it's ratification, whether it's Africa products are good, whether it's Africa products should be used by Africans. Civil society are the people who are going to use them. If you have a vaccine made in Africa as compared to a vaccine that is coming from another country, it is civil society that can do this work for us. So we should not underestimate the power of civil society. And they are the ones who will ensure that locally manufactured products are acceptable on the continent. If I can think of one thing that civil society can do, this is what civil society can do. So I think if there's one thing that we will use them for, it is something like this. So short of thinking even further, this is my initial thought of how we are thinking of using civil society. There was a question on, there are many questions. On what? How we can support local industry. First, I've mentioned how we can support ensuring that your local industry products are acceptable. Capacity building, we will support local industry. There's technology transfer. We are talking about how we are looking at clinical trials are happening in this country. There was a malaria vaccine that was tried in this country. Why should trials that take place have products then brought in from outside? We need to champion technology transfer being brought in. That is how AMA will support local industry, not just for the regular products that are manufactured, the normal day-to-day products, but to ensure that technology transfer happens in this country. AMA will liaise with industries, innovator companies, to work with local industry on the technology transfer process. It will be the lead agency to support technology transfer to local industry by way of regulatory support to local industry to build capacity. Pre-qualification, AMA will work with WHO in that area for complex products, and HETI is here to help with the pre-qualification of industry. It is an expensive process, but apart from the cost, the technology as well, the capacity for local industry, I think HETI will bear with me. We've had that conversation, and with WHO by itself. It's not HETI directly, I think it's somebody else in WHO, but WHO will work with WHO to ensure that local companies, because we know pre-qualification is still a discussion that we are having. We are looking at AMA taking over certain portions, the discussion that we're having. If there's an AMA approval or there's an AMA assessment, or there's an AMA has done an inspection of a company with its mature agencies. Is that acceptable for pre-qualification? Those are discussions that we have. So the WHO will accept an AMA review or an AMA inspection or an AMA qualified GMP inspection from agencies that AMA has assessed, or AMA with WHO has looked at. So AMA will work closely with WHO, and we are having these discussions in order to support local industry so that funders can buy products that local industry manufactures. I know local industry doesn't only want to sell to Africa, they also want to be able to export. They also want partners to be able to buy them. There are products that are not only, they are public health products that you'll be manufacturing. It's not just the paracetamols and the blood tonics and things. They are the public health products like the anti-malarials that are normally bought by donor agencies like USAID, UNICEF, etc. So we will work with WHO to ensure that we can support you in that way. There was another question on counterfeit, substandard and falsified medicines. And I think under the AMRH, after a product is listed, there are other TCs that are going to work together to have, we have the market surveillance TC that is looking at gathering all the data. There will be data platforms whereby when, at a glance, when products are listed, all the other TCs go into action, so that if there's a substandard or falsified medicine anywhere, there's one platform that all this information goes onto. There's one TC that looks at this data, and it is reported and fed back immediately to countries. There's a repository of data that we're going to be working with certain partners to make sure that this information at a glance is, or at one touch is made available to countries. We will also have our pharmacovigilance system end-to-end in place. It will pick up substandard and falsified medicines. There will be a pharmacovigilance reporting assessment committee also in place end-to-end that will also be able to pick up substandard and falsified medicines on the continent. So we're going to set up a proper pharmacovigilance or a safety monitoring system. I don't want to say pharmacovigilance because it's going to do everything, including medical devices. So that system is going to be robust. That will be able to pick up quality products that will end up in the system, and also safety of medical products. I don't know whether I've left anything out. If I have, please draw my attention to it. And thank you very much for the show of support and the encouragement. I thank you very much. It is going to be an easy job. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DG. I think you've covered everything. I think we are coming to the end of our session, and we want one parting word from each of the panelists, one word that would describe the critical ingredient for success for the African Medicines Agency. One word. We will start with Sarah here, and we will go to DG. Will be the last, because that's we want to hear from you how you will look at AMA as in one word, success of AMA. So we'll start with Sarah, we'll move to Sakile and on, and then DG will be the last after we go to Ima.
Thank you, Tim. So we talk about trust, transparency. My third word that I had in
one word.
No, but that's not me. I would say humanity. In lead with humanity in everything you do.
Humanity.
Sorry, Chim, it's a phrase. Structured collaboration, yes. And by that I mean that the Recs want to be at the table whenever policies are being made. We also want to be there when things are being scaled up. Use us still to give you the lessons learned so that we can continue to contribute. I will stop there.
One word.
Thank you. One word, credibility.
Credibility. That's one word.
I'll do two words, inclusive transition.
Inclusive transition. DJ, you'll be last, yes.
Pour moi, l'AMA est déjà opérationnel. AMA is already operational for the regulators, for national regulators. So continue it, push on it. Thank you.
Continue, push on it. Thank you. Ima, online. Ima?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Your last one word.
Yeah, well, everybody's used my words.
Exactly.
Am I allowed to repeat them?
Sorry?
Yeah, I was going to say that everybody's used my words so far, but so I'm going to add a new word, and I think the recipe for success is trust in science. So I'm adding science. Trust in science and trust in the AMA.
Trust in science, trust in AMA. That's one word. Thank you very much, Eva. DG, your last, I hope you can do one word.
I don't have any. Partnership. That's the only word I have.
Partnership. Thank you very much, DG. And thank you. We should do another big round of applause for the panel. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It has been a wonderful panel. We thank you for your contribution. It's a conversation and it's a journey. We will continue with this conversation, and this is what grounds us as we discuss during the conference. So let me invite Alex to give us guidance on what next. Thank you very much. We can do a photo here of the panelists as we go out. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. So we will have our next sessions. We were supposed to go for a group photo, but we will not go for that because of time. We'll get an opportunity to take a group photo tomorrow. So our next 2 sessions, 6 sessions, but grouped into 2. So the one after tea break and the one after lunch break. So we have 3 parallel rooms. The next 6 sessions will be running in parallel. So the first parallel one will be in Arabuko. Arabuko is this room that we are sitting in now. And the next one is Barracuda, and the other one is Mantra Bay. The 2 parallel rooms are in the next building, just near the reception. And session 4, 5, and 6, these will happen after lunch break. And this is Arabuko, so session 6 will be here. And so just to name the sessions, parallel session 1 is strengthening harmonized, it's cut. I think it's strengthening harmonized local production and yes, local production and food procurement, something like that. This will be here. Then session 2 is counterfeiting substandard and falsified medical products, which will be in Barracuda, the next building. And the session 3, this will be in Mantra Bay. It's also on that side of the hotel. This is on regulation for emergencies and public health priorities. Yes. Okay. Okay.
You can see the program.
So I think, looking at the time, it's almost lunchtime. I think we are going for, we'll go for the sessions. Yes. Yeah, I'm saying the time is 12:30. We were supposed to go for lunch at 1 o'clock. And the sessions will run for 1 and 30 minutes. So if we go now, that means we can go for lunch at 2. Is that okay with everyone? It's okay? Okay, thank you. So we'll go for the parallel sessions now. So those attending parallel 1 will remain here. And the others, you can go into the other meeting rooms. Meeting virtual. So for those attending virtually, for those that are online, parallel 1, the meeting link is named main plenary. And parallel 2, it's named parallel 1. And parallel 3 is named parallel 2. Thank you. Attending what? Excuse me, those attending the capacity development for ADRH 2, please meet the organizers outside. From the ones that are coming from English Hotel.